Are you wondering how to form questions in English with correct grammar? Well, today I'm going to teach you a simple method for asking questions in almost all the verb tenses. I think you'll find this lesson very helpful, and I've made a free lesson guide available for you to download. It also includes a quiz so you can practice forming questions. Just click on the link under this video and enter your email to get that free PDF guide with the quiz, and you can download the audio as well. All right, let's take a look at this question formation formula. I like to remember it with the acronym QUASM, and that stands for question word, auxiliary verb, also called the helping verb, subject, main verb. Okay, let's look at how QUASM works for forming questions in some of the most common verb tenses. We'll start with questions in the simple present. Where, that's the question word. Do, that's the auxiliary verb. You, that's the subject. Work, that's the main verb. You can see these other questions still follow the formula. What does Martha think about the project? How do you like your new apartment? How many kids does Bob have? So in the simple present, the auxiliary verb is do for the subjects I, you, we, and they, or does for the subjects he, she, and it. And the main verb is in the base form. Let's look at the simple past tense now. Again, QUASM. How, that's the question word. Did, that's the auxiliary verb. They, that's the subject. Learn, that's the main verb. English so fast. When did you get home from work yesterday? What did the manager think about your idea? Where did you buy that t-shirt? So in the simple past, the auxiliary verb is always did for any subject, and the main verb is in the base form. Let's turn our attention to the present continuous. What, that's the question word. Are, that's the auxiliary verb. You, that's the subject. Doing, that's the main verb. At the moment. Why is he ignoring me? What time are we meeting up for dinner? Who is she dating now? So in the present continuous, the auxiliary verb is are for the subjects you, we, and they, is for subjects he, she, and it, or am for the subject I. And you can see that the main verb is in the ing form. It's similar for the past continuous. Let's take a look. Who, that's the question word. Were, that's the auxiliary verb. You, that's the subject. Talking, that's the main verb. To, on the phone. Who were you talking to on the phone? What was Jim doing when you called? Why were the children eating candy before dinner? How was he feeling after the surgery? So in the past continuous, the auxiliary verb is were for subjects you, we, and they, or was for subjects he, she, it, and I. And the main verb is in the ing form because this is a continuous tense. Let's look at the present perfect now. How much money, that's the question word. Have, that's the auxiliary verb. You, that's the subject. Spent, that's the main verb, on clothes this month. How much money have you spent on clothes this month? How long has your teacher worked at this school? What have they been doing all day? How long has the client been waiting for their order? In the present perfect, the auxiliary verb is have for subjects you, we, they, and I, or has for subjects he, she, and it. And the main verb is in the past participle. The first two examples are actually the present perfect simple, where the main verb is in the past participle, spent and worked. And the next two examples are the present perfect continuous, which uses been, that's the past participle of be, and then the ing form. How long has the client been waiting? But you can see it still follows the QUASM formula. This also works in future tenses. Who, that's the question word. Will, that's the auxiliary verb. You, that's the subject. Invite, that's the main verb, to the party. Who will you invite to the party? What will your parents think about your plan? When are you going to clean your room? Why is she going to quit her job? So we have two ways of talking about the future, will and going to. So in the first case, the auxiliary verb is always will, and the main verb is in the base form. Who will you invite? And in the second case, the auxiliary verb is are for subjects you, we, and they, or is for subjects he, she, and it, or am for the subject I. And the main verb is going to, and then the verb. Why is she going to quit her job? We can also apply this formula to modal questions. For example, what, that's the question word. Would, that's the auxiliary verb. You, that's the subject. Do, that's the main verb. If you had $1 million, what would you do if you had $1 million? How could we improve our English? Where should I go on my next vacation? So in these questions, the modal verb should, could, or would is the auxiliary verb, and the main verb is in the base form. Got it? Now there are some exceptions that don't follow the QUASM pattern of question formation. For example, yes or no questions do not use a question word, but they still follow auxiliary verb, subject, main verb. Check it out. Do you like bananas? Did you enjoy the movie? Are you studying English? Were you sleeping when I called you last night? Have you finished your homework? Will you call me when you get home? Are you going to accept the job offer? Should we take the early morning flight? All of those are questions that are answered with yes or no, so they don't have a question word, but they do follow the last part of the pattern, auxiliary verb, subject, main verb. Questions in which the main verb is be also don't really follow the pattern. For example, are you thirsty? Is she a teacher? Were your parents angry when you failed the test? Was her ex-boyfriend a basketball player? And reported questions, indirect questions, and subject questions also do not follow QUASM. Don't worry, I have lessons on each of those topics, and I'll put links to those under the video as well, so you can learn about those special cases. Well, I hope this lesson has been helpful, and now it's time to test yourself. Download the free PDF and quiz under this video to see how well you do with forming questions in the various verb tenses. And if you want to master complex English grammar and learn to use it confidently, come join my Advanced English Grammar course. You can find that, along with all my other courses, at my website, espressoenglish.net. Well, how did you like this lesson? I hope you loved it. That's all for today.